I'm pumped to introduce my good friend Nick Theriot with Theriot Solutions. Nick's a really good friend of mine, and he's also an extremely great entrepreneur where he's generated over $100 million of revenue for his clients since his time in business in the digital marketing space. He's taken e-commerce businesses from $50,000 a month to $300,000 a month. He currently has a new ebook out, The Art of Creating Ads That Scale. Thanks, Nick, for coming by, dude. I appreciate you coming in, taking time. I'm Bryce Strong with the Bryce Strong Real Estate team here at Katie Real Estate, and I had my friend come on, Nick Theriot. Me and him have been really good friends for quite some time now. And I got this idea kind of like, 2 weeks ago or so. And we were kind of talking and you know, I think every week we kind of sit down and what I noticed a pattern was we would have a talk and kind of like, oh, well, I'm doing this. And you're like, well, how's Kyle doing? And I kind of go, well, how's Jake doing and all that stuff. And it's just really nice to have these conversations with someone, especially a good friend, where, you know, you can kind of lean on each other for business and advice. Because not a lot of people have good, you know, access to people who are like-minded like that, you know? Like, for example, I think the moment where I talked about this, where I got the idea was at the cigar lounge, and it kind of just, it was kind of like an explosion in my mind in a little bit to think that you and I have, from where we came from. I remember 4 years ago or so, you were already doing Facebook ads and stuff, and you were still super successful at it. But I was not in business at the time, and neither was our friends either, I don't think, right? You were in the mindset of, well, I'm trying to go from $20,000 a month to $50,000 a month. Remember that? We were by the pool, I think it was, at Robbie Place. And I was like, man, what the fuck's wrong with Nick? Nick's fucking crazy. Like, dude's just not satisfied with $20,000, $25,000 a month. I think none of us got it. You know, none of our friend group got it. And then I got into real estate, and I still didn't get it until we had, I think it was a pivotal moment of where kind of clicked for me. And I ended up scaling like crazy. And watching us both, me watching you scale, and then you watching me scale, I think that was a beautiful kind of thing to watch. Especially us, the demographic of us, you know, being under 30. Well, I'm 30 now, just turned 30, but being under 30 and doing the things that we're doing, and driving the cars. It's not even about the cars. It's not about all this stuff. It's kind of just putting in the work and being able to achieve those things. Because I never thought we would ever be in this position that we're in. Never. I at least didn't think a couple years ago. I don't know about you. I think you've always had that mindset a lot earlier on than me, but for me it took a little bit longer, you know. But what is, from your point of view, what kind of have you noticed? Have you noticed things like that?
From what perspective?
Like just watching, like for instance, now we have Garrett in the ad space, right?
Yeah.
We got Jake in the ad space. He went to school to be a teacher, and now he seems like he found his not only his purpose, but what he's really freaking good at.
So you mean more in terms of the perspective of being able to be like an inspiration to others that are following you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing that, you know, I learned early on, because I mean, a lot of the people that are around us now, yes, they are starting to catch on to the things we're doing now. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make is that when they are starting in the beginning, you know, they try to share everything they learn and almost like push it upon everyone in the beginning. And the reality is that just doesn't work at all, because I used to do the same. Like literally everyone that's doing stuff now within us, I mean, all of them in the beginning stages, I was pushing what I'm doing, this online business. At the time I was doing like day trading and things like that. And I was pushing all these ideas and concepts on these people. And I realized was like, hey, why aren't they taking action? And it's because, no, one, you just don't have the level of success yet to inspire someone else. But two, you know, technically they were doing better at the time than me. Like I was literally like making barely any money trying to get this to work and everything. So I always tell people, it's like, never push that on people in the beginning stages, because all it's going to do is push people away. But when you actually start seeing that level of success, once you start putting in the reps, once you start putting in the consistency and stuff like that, and you start to see what I would say the results start to come to tuition and everything, that's when people are going to start coming up to you. That's when people are going to want to start learning what you do and everything, because you haven't shown them what they desire yet. They desire X lifestyle, and you're not living that lifestyle at all right now. But give it a few years, then you are, then, okay, hey, what do you do? Oh, hey, you know, that Facebook ads thing you told me a couple years ago about, I might start taking seriously now, because now they can actually see, oh, shoot, that's the types of things I'm trying to do. That's the type of cars I'm trying to drive. That's how many hours I'm trying to work in within a week and everything like that. So it starts to spread, right? And obviously the people that are a little bit more envious, you'll push those people away, and that's totally okay, because you don't want those people around you. But the people that are inspired by your success, they'll do either two things. One, they'll try to come replicate some of the stuff you're doing, or two, they'll start coming in and they'll start looking at, okay, well, how can I apply that same consistency, that same level of motivation, that level of thinking bigger to my own works as well? And then that way, you know, just like me and you, we inspire each other, right? Every time you do something really cool, it inspires me to push harder. Every time I do something cool, it inspires you to push harder. So, but we don't technically do the same thing at all. Mm-hmm. So I think there's levels to it in terms of how your success can inspire others. And it just makes it like, I'm all about extreme accountability at the end of the day. And me being super accountable, my own success impacts the lives of other people. And at the end of the day, it's all about how many people's lives you impact before you leave Earth. So that's why, for me, it just makes me like show up with extreme intensity every day, if that makes sense.
Right, not squander anything either. Like, I know you probably feel the same of like every day that I wake up, like I feel like shit if I don't move the needle in some direction forward. You know, like I have to feel like I've accomplished something. And I feel like it's, you know, it goes back to what you hit the nail on. You cannot force someone to do, like no matter what, you know, data you show them or anything like that, you cannot tell them like this is what you should do it and try to convince them to want to strive for that or put them on game or anything like that, because it just hasn't clicked for them. Two, it doesn't work that way. They quite literally have to discover it themselves and get to a point where it's like, I'm tired of doing this, I want better.
Yep.
And that's when it clicks. And seeing all of our friends click at different moments was like, it's like symphony. It's like, man, that's nice. Yeah. And it's not by coincidence that, you know, we start doing, you know, we scaled, you and our business, both our business have scaled tremendously in the last year. I mean, it has gone astronomical to the moon with both of our businesses. And I think that rubbed off on our sphere of, you know, of what is possible. I think that's where it takes, you're right, it's seeing results, being like, okay, cool, this is possible, they're doing it. And they kind of also a fear of they don't want to get left behind as well, you know, knowing that, I mean.
That's actually a great thing you brought up right there. That's why people do have, they have two different like positive or negative reactions to people doing better. Because when someone starts to do better, they'll either have a positive reaction to it of like, oh my God, that's amazing, like, you know, like it's really good for you, right? Or they have a negative reaction, which is a little bit more envious, a little bit more hateful and stuff like that. And part of that hatred is fueled by the fact that they are scared of being left behind. And it takes a lot of energy to do what we do, right? It's to be fair, sometimes it is easier to do a 9-to-5. It's way less stressful. It's very just go with the flow, right? A lot of things we're doing, like we're having to reinvent like a lot of stuff. We're having to work significantly more than a lot of people. It's a lot of energy that it takes to create that momentum of scaling a business, making more money in a single month. And no one wants to do that, right? So when someone starts to level up and they have that fear of left behind, part of that is because the massive amount of energy they would actually have to put into place to actually achieve that thing. And they just simply don't want to do that at the end of the day.
Right. I was talking to one of my new agents, Dan, the other day about this. We were driving home from a listing appointment, and I explained it to him. Like, it's kind of like getting started is the hardest part. Like, getting that initial motivation to, like, you know, I'm going to go and try to do X amount. And then taking the time to sit there, reverse engineer it, how I'm going to do this. Because I can just say I want to make $1 million a month. It's not going to happen. I have to have, okay, well, I need to sell X amount per day, and like get it down to the day. You can get it down to the hour, really, if you really want it. And is this possible? No. Okay, well, what do I need to implement to, it's a whole plan. But the hardest part is just actually doing the thing that will jumpstart it all. And I kind of put in the analogy of like, it's like, I look at it as like playing a new video game. Like if a video game's super freaking hard, I remember this like 5 years ago when I first started playing COD. I didn't grow up on COD, but on Call of Duty, I was like, man, I'm getting destroyed. I was like, I started playing during COVID, actually, because everybody was playing because there's nothing else to do. So I started playing Call of Duty, and I would spawn and die. I didn't know how to work any of the weapons. I didn't know any other attachments, what benefits it was. I was like, this game sucks. It's not a sucky game. I just suck at it, But once I started learning into it and getting really familiar with all the different mechanics of it and putting in a little bit of time, I got extremely better at it, And it's literally owning a business and being an entrepreneur is like one big game. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way to put things, to put it in perspective. It's everything is a game at the end of the day, and everything is however you want to perceive it. Easy for us to look at as like a video game and stuff like that. In the beginning stages, yeah, it is a lot of trying to figure things out, and that's where you turn back to your why. Like, what is the reason why you're putting energy into this thing? And for a lot of people, it's I'm fed up with my 9 to 5, or I'm not making nearly enough money to live month to month to cover all my expenses and stuff like that. I'm constantly just losing every month. And once your pain exceeds your excuses and all of those good things, that's what creates that, okay, I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to be disciplined every day, because your pain is exceeded to a point where you just simply don't care anymore about any excuse you have, or for any reason why you wouldn't show up that day. You're only dialed in and focused completely on achieving those things. And then once you actually start to succeed, you start getting better at the game and everything like that. That's where you start to, challenge yourself. Right.
That's where the magic happens.
That's where you, once you start surpassing 10K a month, then it's like, okay, now I'm doing $10,000 a month. How do I get to 25K a month? And like, don't get me wrong, as you mentioned before, it's like you're still thankful, you're still like, grateful for being able to make that type of money. But at the same time, it's like, I want to challenge myself, because those challenges is what grows us. And if you're growth oriented, you're in love with the idea of constantly putting yourself in a situation to grow and expand your skill set. And upon that, that's what creates new levels of income. So, 25K a month, challenged myself to get to 50K a month. Once I got to 50K a month, then I got to 100K a month. And now it's like, how do I get to $1 million a month? And that's the only thing I'm focusing on. And that's also where it comes down to, who are the people that you need to put around you, right? If you want to get to $1 million a month, you need to know at least 5 or 6 people that are making $1 million a month or more to can kind of guide you to as well. And that's where that kind of like cheat code comes into as well for the game you're playing of business.
It's a shortcut to the path that, they've already made the mistakes and stuff like that. And going back, like finding that why, like I know what my why was. It was clear I needed X amount of dollars. I think it was $60,000, $70,000 in a month. But I'm curious, I never asked you this, like what made you say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and drop out of school and I want to start a business, Like I never asked you that, and I've always been curious, because it's always like a switch in somebody's mind. It really is, for the most part.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, like your why will change over time. The same why you started with will not be the same why you end with. And that's why I hate so much about people who are like extremely successful and like we're successful and stuff like that. But I'm talking about people that own businesses doing 100 million plus a year. It's just like, oh, just, follow your passion, or like, just like your why is to serve other people. And to be fair, like that is true. But in the beginning stages, your why won't be to serve people. It's, hey, rent's due. My why is I need to make an extra $1,000 a month. Or, hey, I'm still eating ramen noodles and ham sandwiches all month. My why is simply to be able to put some better food on the table, right? So your why will change and evolve over time. My why in the beginning, I mean, at first was just because I was watching people play Call of Duty and make YouTube videos all day from their house. I was like, I want to just do that. Like, I remember having a 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, but I would work at this machine shop about 2 hours every day after high school, and I would do the same shit every day, every day. And I was like, is this really what a 9 to 5 is? Just show up, you do the same shit every day, you make the same amount of money, and it felt like I wasn't growing. And again, I love growth. Growth is fun. Growth is where the magic happens. And that's where like I'm in my zone at on growth. And doing the same thing every day, making the same amount of money every single day, it just felt like I was in this weird just, I can't even really describe it, just this weird state, right? And I was like, I don't want this at all. You know, I'd rather risk it all and be in a zone where I can fight or flight basically, or, you know, find something like that that can put me in a better growth position. And for me, that's where it kind of got the idea of starting my own business. And that led me into, you know, like going to college and stuff like that. When I was kind of like going into like my senior year to freshman year of college, I ended up seeing someone posting that they did like Forex trading. And then I got into Forex trading from there. And the whole goal was to be able to work from home, make money online. And that's when I got into Forex trading, realized to make money with that, I needed money to invest in the account. Started a detailing business right there to make quick and easy money to put in that account. And then, you know, that's when I found Facebook ads and fell in love with Facebook ads because I needed a way to grow the business. So I think there's also some level of just trusting the process, because I started off with Forex trading, then I went to detailing, then I went to Facebook ads agency and stuff like that. And I'm finally at that position now where I do what I love. Instead of playing Call of Duty, I do Facebook ads every day, but I still get to make YouTube videos and work from home every day. So I'm still doing exactly what I've visioned years and years and years ago. And my why, again, changed at different steps of it. First off was just to escape my 9 to 5. Look, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get out of this. That was my why in the beginning. Then my why came down to, okay, I just quit college to go all in on business because the detailing business was taking off and it just made sense for me to spend more time on it than focus on college. And my why was I don't want to be seen as a failure, right? For me, being in the detailing business the rest of my life was going to be seen as a failure. Oh, you just wash cars? Like I knew I was more than that, worth more than that, and could do way more. But this was just simply a stepping stone in my life right now that I needed to get through. And then that's where I got into the Facebook ad side, and you know, my first ever, my third ever client, like Facebook ads and stuff. You know, I was able to make like what I made in the whole month, the detailing business. I was working 160 hours a month on detailing business, making like $4,000 a month. Whereas this one client for the Facebook ad side paid me $5,000 for about an hour work a week. I was like, okay, this is just a substantially better leverage of my time right there. And once all my like basic needs started to get in the way, and I started to get that kind of like why of like, okay, like I'm getting out of like, you know, the zone of where you're just constantly a wall against your back, type of like fighting movement right there. Then it started turning more into that aspect of, okay, you know, how can I make a little bit more money to afford my own place? And like my why became, hey, I need to make X amount of money because I want to be able to afford my own apartment. Then my why shifted to, oh, I want a nicer car. Then, okay, how much more money I can make to get a nicer car? And then I just kind of kept changing that why over time. And then, you know, now that has changed more into just levels of impact, to be fair. Like that's a big one for me right now. Be able to impact people and help people grow and scale their business through Facebook ads and stuff. That's very, what I would say, fulfilling for me. But to compare that to someone who's just trying to get started right now and saying, hey, you need to have that same why, it's just completely like, it's not a fair comparison at all. Right. And a lot of people that are starting that beginning stages, when they don't have that why, the same why as someone that is ultra successful, they feel like they're a failure from the beginning for not thinking like that. And that's actually completely false. Like your why in the beginning is literally just to survive. And then you'll change multiple times over throughout your life until, you know, you finally, you know, finish up your life in that sense.
Right. Like it does start very selfish reasons.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with all with that.
Right.
You have to fill your own cup up first before you can help other people. So if you want a why to impact people, you need to already be able to be completely like well off on your own. And if you can't, then cool. Impact yourself first, because that's how you're going to help everyone else when you show your own levels of success.
Right. And I think that's what started with me. Like and you also, like, we need to make money fast. How do we do that and not be miserable? We'll be miserable in the beginning, but maybe we won't be so miserable after. Towards the end of the process. I say end of the process is continuous, but my thing has changed where it was very selfish at first, and then now I'm more about, like, how can I, same as you. I think once you get, that's how you also scale your business. How can I impact more people? How can I give more? Because I noticed, and I know you notice this as well, the more you give, the more you receive. I know you're you're the one that put me on to, the mindset of abundance. I remember we were sitting in your apartment at Robley Place, and you were like, yeah, I live in a mind of abundance, and, I give to receive, and I have 5 toothbrushes, and I'll use once a week. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, it seems like a big waste of money, but you're like, there's no scarcity. It's not a scarcity mindset. I was like, Nick's crazy. I was like, he's just wasting toothbrushes and shit. And then you were talking about, also donating your money. I was like, crazy. I ain't got nothing to donate at this time, but good on him. Crazy. But anyways, but now I understand, the more I have every single time, and sometimes it's instantaneous, but I don't do it in the goal to get something. I'll just go and I'll have an opportunity. I'm always seeking opportunity to try to make an impact and give. And every time I've done that, sometimes it's immediate. The next day, someone will call. Multiple people will call. It's happened before. Or, next month later, I'll meet this guy, and he's on the same level of what, we're talking about the same thing that I was thinking. And I'm like, wow. Right? It's just crazy how that happens. And I think it's just kind of what you put out there once you get out that scarcity mindset.
It's a mix, too, because when you're in a scarcity mindset, it's like, there's 2 things that happen right there, right? One side of it is, you just make less money, right? But the other side of it is you attract a lot more, what I would say, bad things happen to you, right? When I'm in an abundance mindset and I'm, just giving away money, to be fair. I know, like, for me, it's like I keep a couple $100 bills in my wallet, and I'll just, like, every time I see a homeless person, I'll give them a $100 bill. And for them, it's like, oh my God, right? And it's like, for me, that's nothing, right? And I think that's also some level of it too, where it's like something that means so little to me can mean so much to another person. And it's cool to be able to impact people, because it's like you don't necessarily have to do a lot to be able to impact that person. But another thing is that when you're giving out of abundance and stuff, one side of it is to look at, now what will I receive? But the other aspect is, what will God or the universe, whatever you're into, is preventing from happening for you. I was telling you earlier about how the last couple of days just got a new vehicle, and I've been driving uninsured on accident, right? And it's like nothing happened, luckily, very thankful. But, if I was in a scarcity mindset that whole time, very tight my money, I would have probably attracted something to happen to me that would be very bad situation to deal with right now.
Right. Yeah. It's always putting it forward and kind of, I call it making like good faith deposits. You know what I'm saying? If ever I'm being like a freaking asshole for a little bit more of the time than I am allowed to be of a normal person. Everybody's allowed to be an asshole at times. Everybody has bad days. But if I catch myself being just like, too long, I'll go and like, okay, I'll notice it, and I'll start making more good deposits around me and stuff like that. And it tends to, kind of level you out. It's not just to make sure I'm good, right? It's not woo-woo magic or nothing like that. It's just to keep your mind in check of, okay, and to incentivize selflessness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's a level of ego to it. And I know, like, for me, the biggest thing I've ever struggled with when ego was when I hit my first 10K a month. I felt like I was on top of the world at that time right there. And ego is what helps also create self-sabotaging habits. And like for me, it's like once I hit 10K a month, it was, I stopped showing up as much per day. I stopped, doing the things that got me to 10K a month. And, I felt like I was on top of the world, like I knew it all. Month, 2 months later, I fell all the way down to like 2K a month. I was like, oh shit, and I thought it was the end of the world right there. Like, I had my opportunity and I fucked it up and like, it's done. And then that's when I realized, one, you always have to keep your ego in check. you always got to remain humble at the end of the day because, like, you know, I'm doing like roughly about 100K a month right now. And there's people that I'm talking to that are doing $1 million a month, $10 million a month. People that, like, literally just bought a brand new vehicle and it's probably going to cost me like $5,000 a year in service fees. Sitting down at a bar talking to another guy who's telling me that it costs him $50,000 a year to service his private jet. So it's like the minute you start to feel like you're on top of the world, there's always someone doing better than you. And that's when you have to kind of realize that. So that way you always stay in that state of like, I'm always learning. I'm always opening to receiving and stuff. And to kind of like check yourself here and there. And that's also one of my favorite things about gifting too as well, because, you know, you get to really realize of like, hey, there are some people that I take this for granted every day. Whereas these people right here, I mean, this is like life-changing for them, to be fair.
Right. And I've learned that lesson the hard way with, you know, thinking, I think every business owner, entrepreneur hits that mark, whether it's 5K a month, 10K a month, 20K a month.
Absolutely.
Where they're like, I'm big shit, right? And you quickly find out that there's bigger fish out there, and there's someone, you're happy to buy a $100,000 car, there's somebody buying a $400,000 car just for shits and gigs, you know, and you're just like, wow. And you meet these people, and you would never know either. You would never know otherwise until, you know, they've told you. You know, I think you had that instance of when we were in Miami where you were telling me that story about that guy with Kyrie. Like, that is mortifying. Like, that I would, and I'm glad, you telling me that story has made me be like, that's why I don't like to, I really don't think that, it's like kind of a conundrum, because you know it's a lot of money. Like, you know 40K and 50K a month is a lot of money. You know, $20,000 is a lot of money. But you also know when you start making that amount of money, that amount of money doesn't go very far in your business if you're doing it right.
Absolutely.
You know? I think that's the thing that keeps you balanced.
That's also too where it's like, you know, success, be able to make 40K a month, 100K a month, you know, people we know that making $1 million a month. It's like, that doesn't happen by accident. That happens by the character traits you develop as a person. And those character traits is what allows you to make that amount of money. And this is why, like, the worst people ever in business are the people that accidentally got rich. And we see that a lot in like the crypto, the stock trading and stuff like that, where one lucky guy gets, you know, every now and then he gets hit on these stocks that, you know, he makes a couple $100,000, couple million very fast. But he hasn't done the work on his mental state to be able to have that money and be perfectly fine. So a lot of the people that, you know, I try to hang around with are the people that they've done that work. They've done that hard work on their mental mindset and those personal characteristics. So where they are constantly in check, even if they're making a couple $1 million a month, even if they walk in the room and they're the richest person in the room, they're still going to be humble. They're still going to be down to level. You know, they don't think they're better than anyone else in the room. They know their spot right there. And that's very important when it comes down to those personal characteristics of, you know, discipline, intentional, patience, like all of those things right there, and doing that hard work on your mental frame, because that'll make you so much more money down the long run.
Right. And getting it and earning it. I think it comes from earning it and knowing what it takes to go through all the shit that you have to go through to get to that point in your business. Because I know you definitely remember the startup phase, and even every growth phase is the same. I mean, I know every time I thought me starting a team would allow me more free time. April Fools. Like, I am working more now, if not longer, harder, constantly doing something to grow it past that phase. So I think it's an ever-growing, revolving door of you're going to have cycles, you know? And I think we both know when we're both in those stages, you know, it's like we don't see each other that often. Our friends don't see it. We're like, hey, can't, right? You know, I'm working tonight, you know, or you'll see me at the office, or I haven't seen you. And I remember there's a stage where I was like, I need to you know, I think it was the springtime of this year. Y'all barely saw me, I think. I don't think that y'all saw me much. And then now, you know, I was like, okay, I can breathe a little bit, but then I started right back up at another one. And I think we both hit those stages at the same time, too. Because you started your ebook, and then before that, I think you started the coaching stuff, right? So we're constantly going through cycles. So it's never ending.
Yeah,
Really,
and that's going to be, that also goes back to where it's like, we treat it like a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have to go through these cycles at all. We could easily stay at the 10K a month that we got to and just coast by. But then that's where it becomes not as fun anymore.
Right.
Because it's just like, oh, making the same amount of money every month. I'm doing the same thing every day again. And that's the same thing we escaped with a 9-to-5. Was the ability to be able to do new stuff, have new things going on every day that challenge us to become a better person. And not a lot of people like that. No one likes to get challenged. People like to stay in their current mindset right now. They like to stay in their current ways that they are living right now. And that's fine, to be fair, but that's just not the person I want to be. I like people that challenge me to think differently. I like people that challenge my own opinions, my own beliefs and everything like that, because it forces me to think differently. When you start thinking differently, that's usually when you start to get a different result. The current reality you live within right now is all based off the thought patterns you've had over the last couple of years. So to get a new reality, new things in your life, it's first changing those thought patterns that's going on in your mind right now. And that's my favorite thing about the growth phase, because every time you go through a growth phase, it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of mistakes. You'll feel like you don't know anything again. You'll learn a lot. You'll feel on top of the world. Then you'll go through a growth phase, and you'll feel like all the way back down on the floor again. And then you go back up, happens again. So for me, it's like I embrace that now. Mm-hmm. I used to be like terrified of it. After I started making some money and I went through that again, which again now for me was 10K a month. I used to be terrified of it. Now, like, I embrace it because I know that after going through it so many times, I'm just going to be so much in a better spot once it's over. And then guess what? In about a month, it'll happen again.
Right. Yeah. And that's you start to know you do it so you get like your teeth kicked in so much, and you do it for so long. Like, you start seeing the pattern of like, okay, well, this is happening. Like, okay, it's not a failure. I'm gonna just keep going. And it's gonna be twice as better. Right. Absolutely. That's how I think about it every single time. And it also kind of kicks your ass out of complacency a little bit too, where you're like overdriving, and then it just propels you forward. And then just once you get that momentum going, you are good.
That's such a good thing you said too about failure, right? Because in the beginning stages, that's the biggest thing you're scared of, is just being seen as a failure. Mm-hmm. And that's where you start to understand what are the actions I need to do on a day-to-day basis to achieve a particular result. So for example, if I want to lose weight, I would watch my diet, I would show up to the gym every day and do a little cardio. As long as I do that for 90 days, I'm gonna get my outcome that I want. But if for a failure to technically happen, it would be me doing those actions for a couple of days, then completely stopping and just giving up. That's technically a failure. But there might be times where I'm doing those actions and maybe I'm not quite doing it right. I'll seek out coaches, I'll seek out people to show me the proper way to do it. And still not a failure, you're seeking out and learning to change up how your thought patterns of how you're looking at this particular thing to get a new result that you want at the end of the day. There's a lot of things in business that you'll put in place and it just will not go as planned, and it's only a failure if you give up. But if you learn from that data, adjust based off that data, it's not a failure at all. So just keep putting, like I wonder what, it was Mr. Beast, for example. And he made a YouTube video where he said, hey, we're going to test every single YouTube video that we know we're going to fail with. Because the quicker we can fail, the quicker we can start winning. If you learn from every failure. And a lot of people take every little like mini failure too emotionally, and again, damages the ego. The ego is what blinds you. Your ego blinds you. So if I'm blinded now, I can't learn, I can't improve, and I'm not willing to accept new information to go back at it again.
Right. And I really think like it's whenever you start, like I noticed another growth phase that comes into seeking out help. That comes with the ego part. It's like, and it's also like a scarcity mindset because it costs money to go and seek help for and advice and all this stuff. When I started paying other people to like, hey, tell me what I'm doing wrong, to show me how to do this, I made more money. That's why I love to spend money on stuff that will make me more money. I love, like, if I find somebody who knows ads, I will pay them whatever they want. Video, I will pay them whatever they ask, because I'm just like, this will give me like a shortcut to this. it will propel me forward. You know, it'll create a shortcut is what it is. It's a cheat code, you know, and using and leaning on people, but that comes with being a business owner. Most people are in that save mindset where they do not want to pay somebody for a prime example. I do not cut my lawn. We hire, like you and I, but I got on the train of I was like, dude, I'm fucking stressed. Like, I was like, I'm doing this. You're like, hire a cleaner.
Yep.
Right? And I hired a cleaner and I made more money. Right? And you say now hire a cook. I'm not there yet, I don't think, because I'm still door dashing. But
I got the guy when you're ready.
Yeah, you said DoorDash. He's like, I DoorDash every bill. I was like, that's insane, Nick. How much is the DoorDash bill? He's like, $2,500 a month. I was like, that's insane. He's like, but it allows me to go and make more money because I'm not going to sit the time for it takes me to cook. I was like, never got that. And then I was at the point where I was like, let me try it.
Yeah.
Push past that spend money to make money mindset.
You start to see an ROI of like your time. Hey, I make X hour, and you know, based off what I make per hour, and based off what it takes for me to pay someone. You know, right now if I'm making $10 an hour, and I got to pay someone $50 an hour to like do all my cooking and cleaning, it's like, okay, that just makes no sense at all. But if I'm making $50 an hour and it only costs me $10 an hour to pay someone to do all my cooking, cleaning, stuff like that, I'm making a $40 profit on that, basically. That's how I look at it.
Right.
And I make, a lot more money in that sense right there. And, I spend probably around $10,000 a month on mentors and just people that kind of forces me to keep leveling up. And in the beginning stages, yes, there is a level of skepticism. That's what kind of prevents people from taking that initial, like, oh, hey, do I want to risk this amount of money? Right? I know for me, the first ever amount of money that I risked was like $600 on a course, July of 2015, on showing me how to like day trade and stuff like that. Now, I was never successful with day trading. Was it because of the course? No, not at all. The course taught me everything I needed. It was my own mental roadblocks that prevented me from being successful. But if I look at it, that was the catalyst that kicked off where I'm at today. So technically my ROI is insanely good on that course compared to the actual ROI I got directly from day trading and stuff like that. So there's a lot of skepticism that a lot of people have. And then the other thing I was going to bring up is that a lot of people do have that ego of, oh, I figured it all out by myself. And that was one of the things that I had to challenge as my own personal belief and my own, like, the way I was raised in my life, where, I was always rewarded for figuring out things on my own. And I was always taught that at an early age. And that helped me, to be fair, make a good amount of money. But that's also what kept me from making more money. And it all starts, back in school. In school, like, you're not taught to go ask others for help. You taught, hey, open a book and figure out yourself. There's no reward for reaching out to someone to help you figure something out. So when you're conditioned like that, well, then guess what? When you try to go start and open a business and everyone's saying, hey, pay this person, pay this person, pay this person, it's like, no, why not? Why would I do that? I'll just figure it out myself. Some people might go 3 and 4 years trying to figure it out themselves, pay someone $500 for an hour of their time, and then like, oh my God, like just completely fix all of those problems they're experiencing. And that's the only reason why I got into coaching, was because I was getting so many people that were reaching out to me, and like I wanted to help them, but I didn't really have a product for them. And I mean, to be fair, I still have to value my time at some level, so I can't just be on coaching calls all day for free. And that's why I opened up my coaching program, and that did really well. And then that's also why I wrote my ebook just recently as well, because again, like, all of these things took me 4 and 5 years to learn. You literally get it for $30.
Right.
You just got to go apply it now. This is where your own mental and those personal characteristics come in play, or you can be disciplined with it, or you can be intentional with it and stuff like that. And, maybe a portion of people that won't, but for the most part, people will succeed and get that result because I've been able to help shortcut them from there.
Right. You put the tools in somebody's hands and give it to them. It's up to them to decide what to do with it. Is what it is. We see it all the time. We can go tell somebody how to go make $10,000 this month. 99.9% of them aren't going to go do it. I see it all the time in my industry. Everybody knows how to do it. You can tell they already know how to do it. They just don't do it.
So they have a reason to get to 10K a month.
Right.
What's on the other side of them getting to 10K a month? 10K a month, or like where I'm at right now, 100K a month. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's what 100K a month allows me to provide. It's me being able to, invest 40 to 50K a month into the future version of myself. So when I retire, I have enough money laying around. It's the ability to be able to travel. It's the ability to drive some of the cars that I've always wanted in my life. It's the ability to some days work 3 or 4 hour days if I want, or some days work 10 or 12 hours a day. It's the ability to be able to outsource things. That's what people actually want and what actually chase. Money is just a number. It doesn't do actually anything for you. It's the outcome of what money provides you is what people chase.
It's a tool to get the options and the freedom that you're looking for. That's what
Correct.
people are looking for. It's not the money. It's what it allows you to get, obtain.
And everyone will be different. There'll be some people that are looking to make money to travel. We have buddies that they just want to make a lot of money to travel. Cars do not mean anything to them.
Right.
Then there's people like me. I love cars. Always been a car guy. I want to make more money to get more cars and stuff like that.
Right.
There's other people that just want a huge house, big backyard, and that's what money allows them to have. So money means different to everyone in a different way.
And I just learned that recently when I bought this car. Like I always second guess myself, and even at $30,000-$40,000 a month, I still did not think that I can go and afford that car. Like I was just like, I can't justify. I can go put that towards my business. I can go, how much would that improve my business? So I called freaking Jim Cady. I was like, do I make enough money to afford this car? And his direct response was, well, do you enjoy cars? Is that your hobby? I was like, yeah. He's like, then you can afford it.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't a monetary amount. It was, what is it value to you?
You're buying it for the right reason.
Right.
And that's also where we kind of step into that. Why are you making more money? From the perspective of, are you making more money to, because you want to help yourself, to buy things that you want? Or are you making a lot more money to show off to people, to gain more attraction, or to gain more people trying to talk to you and stuff like that? And usually that's where it's like, are you buying this car for the right reason? Me personally, I just love cars. I enjoy them. I've always have. I've had one car in my life, which was like 6-7 years ago, that I intentionally bought with the reasoning of getting more people to talk to me, getting more like attention and stuff like that. And then I realized how quickly, one, it's shallow, but two, just from the perspective of how empty it feels. And, you just feel way worse at the end of the day, right? I'm spending all this money, no one's talking to me. I just need to go spend more money on another car. And it becomes this just endless thing right there. And, that's also where a lot of other mental problems come in play. So that's also where it's like, it's okay to have the nice things because you purely like those nice things versus, hey, I need to have this nice thing to get this thing, right? To get a girl's attention, or to, no one talks to me. So if I buy this thing and I go to like Cars and Coffee, then all of a sudden people are come talk to me and stuff like that. It's like, that's just gonna be an endless just hole you will never be able to fill in your life.
Right. And I'm the same way with like, you were like, yeah, I was like, man, I'm looking at a watch. Remember I said that? And you're like, well, get a Rolex. I was like, I don't really like Rolexes. You know what? I ended up buying like a freaking $250 watch.
And there's nothing wrong with
that.
that.
I didn't want a Rolex. So I was like, I'm not gonna buy a Rolex. But you're really into Rolexes and watches and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love watches.
So I was like, I understand that now, especially that happened right after Jim told me that. He's like, do you like cars? And I knew, I was like, okay, I'm buying it for the right reasons. 'Cause I always wanted a badass car like that, and everything else is just, I'm doing it for enjoyment.
Absolutely.
Everything else is just a bonus.
And that's where when you're doing everything with the intention of, you're doing everything with the intention of you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it because this makes me happy. That's how you feel fulfilled at the end of the day. You're donating to people because it makes you feel happy. You are showing up every day and doing the work that makes you happy. You are hanging around the people that make you happy. And that's success at the end of the day. And I think that's a great point too. I know we're kind of wrapping up over here, but that's kind of a great way to kind of like lean off of just at the end of the day, you're doing everything with your own intentions because this makes me feel good. This makes me feel happy. I'm not worried about what other people think. And that's the ultimate way of living kind of that quote unquote successful life at the end of the day.
Thanks for coming, dude. If you want to know more about Nick and find him on the internet, Nick Theriot on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Yeah, so it's Nick Theriot and NICK, and that's Theriot the Riot _, and that's the best place you can find me. Reach out to me, Instagram DMs. I'm very responsive over there. If you have any questions, whatever, happy to help out.
Yeah. I think he hit it on the head right there, dude. Damn.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.